Back here on Media Row, joined right now, Editor-in-Chief, Front Office Sports, Dan Roberts, Gregg Sussman here. Big game will start. Who you got?
I'm thinking Eagles, and not just because I want to see that as a fan, but the Eagles look real good to me. I mean, look at how they played in the NFC Championship game. They just made a statement. So I know the line is only like a point, 1.5 maybe.
Yeah, 1.5, yeah.
But I think unless you're already a Chiefs fan, or if you hate the Eagles for some reason, I feel like the average NFL fan would probably like to see the Chiefs lose.
I agree with you that they probably want to see the Chiefs lose. And if they do, and the Eagles win, and you're correct, I saw the top story on FOS today, will the Eagles go to the White House?
Yeah.
So
interesting, right?
So obviously when they last won, they did not go.
Right.
What should we expect this time if you're correct and they do win?
Well, first of all, let me just say in context, I mean, I don't think it has to be a political statement to say that we are about to have another 4 years of sports and politics being more closely connected than they were in the 4 years prior. You've got the biggest golf guy back in the White House, you know? He's got all kinds of sports friends. And so it affects things. As you said, Jeff Lurie last time said we're not doing the White House visit. Another good reason to ask that question 2 nights ago inside the stadium at media availability was that day, so I guess Monday, the Florida Panthers visited the Trump White House. So very relevant to wonder. And Lurie, it was us who asked him. And Lurie laughed, and then he took a beat, and then he laughed again kind of nervously, and he goes, I just want to win on Sunday.
Sure.
So a little bit of a non-answer. I would think that there's no reason anything has changed. If Jeff Lurie didn't want bringing his team to a Trump White House in 2018, I'm not sure he'd want them doing it in 2025. But let's see. It's going to be interesting. But we cover this stuff in a very kind of straight down the line way because it's newsworthy, right?
Sure.
The politics and sports convergence.
Absolutely. And speaking of all that, President Trump will be the first president that's at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, while being president. Which is surprising, isn't it?
Agreed.
I mean, never before has a current president gone to a Super Bowl. Now, past presidents have gone.
Of course.
But that was a surprise to me that no sitting president has gone to the game.
It is surprising because there's some obviously very famous sport fan presidents in our past. But yeah, President Trump in the house, Gail Benson's box on Sunday.
Sure.
Another person in a box on Sunday, Tom Brady. So Tom Brady calling his first Super Bowl for Fox. And some of the controversy surrounding Brady has been he owns the Raiders 5%. He doesn't have the same availability that some of the other commentators get. So where are you on this conflict of interest Brady thing?
I think it's a conflict.
Okay.
And I don't know if that means it's enough of a conflict that he shouldn't be broadcasting.
Right.
But to those who say, and they shrug it off, and there's many people who say that, I disagree. I mean, first of all, at the very least, I thought they wouldn't let him call Raiders games, but he's allowed to call Raiders games. Right. Then you've got Mark Davis coming out saying, he'll be very involved. Diana Rossini broke the story saying her sources say that he's running the show over there. In other words, the new coach hiring process. So how can that guy be calling games and doing color, and you say it's not a conflict? Now, if he decides that this isn't for me, and that's sort of a separate but related topic is, do you think he's any good at this?
Right.
I do think he can now use the Raiders ownership as his out. He can say, you know what? It's been amazing doing this for a year. I certainly planned to be a broadcaster for the full 10 years, but I'm starting to have more burdens and responsibilities as a Raiders owner, and I want to focus on my responsibilities.
He is all in until he's not. And
exactly
right. He has other stuff he has to do.
Everyone said, well, his agent says he's going to do this 10 years.
Right.
And of course they say that.
Of course.
Wait until suddenly he says, all right, I'm out.
He has 375 million reasons to make sure that he's all in.
Sure, until he isn't. That's right.
100%. Dan Roberts, we are here on Radio Row, and we were talking about it before we started, and it was just the influx of the betting companies. DraftKings.
Look around.
And FanDuel. It's everywhere. BetMGM as well. And we have been a part at SportsGrid of all of that. We've been on the FanDuel set. We've been on the MGM set. And as you have covered the NFL through the years, how have you seen this growth from just a daily fantasy that was dipping your waters and it was every commercial to now they are the official betting partners of the NFL and you can't get away with it? Can't get away with it truly. We're on media night on Monday night asking legitimate betting questions. How have you seen that whole thing evolve?
Well, first of all, great for you guys, right?
Excellent.
I mean, it's a good time to be in the business of betting, in the business of writing about, covering, talking about betting, not just lines and the obvious and the odds, but really the ecosystem. And by the way, for those at home, I mean, we're on Radio Row. You look around, you've got all these different setups. everywhere you look is DraftKings FanDuel logos.
Yep.
I mean, they are sponsoring everything. Ross Tucker's setup is enormous. Kay Adams, giant set, and it's all DraftKings FanDuel. And to me, the progression has been fascinating. Back when I was at Fortune Magazine in 2015, that was when DraftKings and FanDuel kind of exploded onto the scene. They were spending inordinate amounts of money on TV advertising. People were complaining, and it's like, you fast forward, not much has changed other than now they can proudly say, we're betting companies. At the time, they said, no, we're not betting operators, we're DFS, daily fantasy.
Yep.
But what was really smart about these companies is they saw the writing on the wall. They knew that at some point soon, PASPA, the federal ban on state-by-state sports betting, would be struck down, and they could just say, all right, floodgates open, we're betting companies. So the businesses have grown. They are the two market leaders, and it ain't close. You said BetMGM, fine. They're a strong third, but it's a distant third. If you ask me, I don't know if companies like ESPN Bet, Fanatics can really get a foothold in this. I don't know how much longer they're going to try doing it. But it's just all very interesting. You ask about the NFL. I remember specifically a New York Times story, and it was when the NFL first made an official partnership with Sport Radar, or Sports Radar, and it was for betting data. And even that was like, whoa, because the NFL had dragged its heels, protect the shield, integrity, more than any other league. And now, open season. And all good. You know, we're talking about legal state-by-state sports betting. My one caveat, man, these leagues and teams are in so deep with these betting companies that it's inevitable that there's going to be some cracks and some things are going to break. Look at the NBA. Multiple scandals with players betting on games. Shohei Ohtani's translator, maybe not fair to mention that. It's a separate situation, but you're only going to see more instances of some issues.
The top umpire in MLB this week coming out, right?
Goodbye.
It's a very tough line to try to walk. And it's going to continue to come out. It's going to continue to avalanche. I don't know the tipping point, but it's going to obviously continue.
Yep.
With FanDuel and DraftKings having so much market share and just having so much money, they can bring in so many different personalities. And really, every personality is sponsored by a sports book. For a while, Barkley and Kenny Smith, obviously, with FanDuel. That kind of leads to where they're headed next. Now, Charles Barkley's this is his favorite thing. Not forget the NBA. He just likes to talk about his own free agency, right? Exactly. So show him the money, signs a lifetime contract with Turner, but he's negotiating with NBC, and he's negotiating with ESPN, but his heart's at Turner. And it's the same playbook over and over and over. Media free agency is something that totally fascinates me because Tony Romo...
And our readers as well.
Oh, nice. Tony Romo broke the dam with the $180 million contract, and then... Obviously, Brady gets $375, but it's everyone. What do you think of who is the next big shoe to drop in the NFL? I'll go there. The follow-up to that is how do you see, and it's a totally different question, but how do you see these NBA broadcaster free agencies shaping up?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things I'll say. And by the way, in the case of Barkley, Shaq, Kenny, it's clear that they kind of just added some drama to the mix because they're trying to get a little more money.
Definitely.
In other words, all the official parties involved, NBA, TNT, ESPN, announced, guess what? We're going to license inside the NBA to ESPN. And if they announced, surely they felt good, like these guys are on board. But then it came out, well, they're still negotiating. Barkley's still negotiating. That's because those guys were like, oh, can I get a little more money out of this? Why is it fair for TNT to just sell me to ESPN?
Right.
So good on them. They're very savvy, but it's obviously going to happen. It's going to get done.
Yep.
You asked about the next big talents. RG3 is really terrific on TV, I think. He's interesting. He's engaging. He's hilarious on Twitter. He's uncut. And obviously we saw ESPN let him go.
Yep.
Well, who's going to pick him up? Right now he's doing his own thing.
Yep.
He's got to get back on TV. I think he's really good. Jameis Winston this week is a correspondent for Fox Sports Digital, and I saw him Monday night inside the stadium interviewing Saquon. He's great. He's funny. People like him. He knows the game. By the way, he's also still a great quarterback. I mean, he had some terrific games this season.
And after that, what you saw Monday night, and he had a lot of praise for what he was doing Monday night. He was engaging. He was cordial. He wants to go to the New York market now.
100%.
Play for the Giants, play for the Jets. Now you're here. Well, not here, but you're here.
Right.
And you get to stay and you become involved.
Set it up.
Totally.
And by the way, I mean, let's go back to Brady. It isn't the case that just because a player is a great player means they'll be a great broadcaster. Look at the various guys they've tried to do on Monday Night Football.
Jason Witten.
Respectfully, I was going to say Jason Witten, respectfully, Breeze.
Yep.
There are guys who, they're nice guys, they're well-liked, they're great players. Doesn't mean they're going to be interesting and charismatic on TV. Jameis, RG3, interesting and charismatic on TV. So those guys deserve to be on there. Greg Olsen, really good at what he does. I don't know if Brady is.
Final question for you, and it's totally taking a curveball, but it's going back to the NBA, and it's the Luka Doncic trade. Right? So this trade happens, and you're trying to understand why and the mechanics behind it. How much do you believe Mark Cuban and the Adelsons deal not maybe getting what they wanted in terms of sports gambling in Dallas affects the future and affects Luka Doncic?
Well, you're right. I mean, Cuban, at least what he has said is he sold his majority stake to get a casino built.
Yep.
In fact, he told FOS, I look around at all the other teams, and what makes money now is real estate.
Correct.
Aligning the stadium. And I'm not a real estate guy. Fine. But there's a couple conspiracy theories out there.
Yep.
One is it's about the betting thing, right? They want to move the team to Vegas. It's not working out. They're not going to get what they want in Dallas. So tank and then move the team to Vegas.
Yep.
The other one is, they see the writing on the wall. Luka's just not it. It may seem shocking to people, but look at the defense in the finals.
Sure.
Fire sale, get everyone out, rebuild the team completely. But one thing's for sure, Cuban was not involved, and if anyone needed that as a reminder that it's not his team anymore, he told FOS. They didn't even tell him until right before. Now, he still owns part of the team. He owns like 27%. He's not out completely, but he is not the guy making the decisions. And hard to look at the Luka thing and say, smart move. Right now in the short term.
Very, very hard. Dan Roberts, Front Office Sports. Go check it out. They're just fantastic when it comes to sports business and sports media. I read it every day. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Stick with us. We'll be back right after this.